Okay, turn over.
Knockout.
The trick was to be able to take chances and do the right thing for this guy, one of the best directors in the world. So the pressure was on.
Don't get excited.
Let's go!
Not only did my mind think I could handle it, but I also had to do it while I was pretending to not be able to handle it, which is dangerous. Like, I remember feeling like, fuck yeah, like I did something right.
This time on Kubrick In Conversation, we're joined by actor and filmmaker Vincent D'Onofrio. A true chameleon of performance, his work has seen him triumph across films and television. And today, we're going to be talking to Vincent about his breakout role as Private Leonard Lawrence in Full Metal Jacket.
We do for a living, ladies! Kill, kill, kill! I can hear you!
Vincent, thank you so much for joining me today.
Good to be here.
So first thing I wanted to ask was, how did Full Metal Jacket come your way?
I was probably in my 6th year of studying in Manhattan and working in clubs as a bouncer and a doorman at times. And one of the friends that I had made over the years and from meeting at auditions was Matthew Modine. I remember I was working the door at the Hard Rock Cafe. He was walking by with his wife, Carrie, and I said, "Hey, Matthew," and I asked him what he was up to, and he said that he was doing this Stanley Kubrick movie. He talked about that for a while and told me what it was like to work with Stanley and stuff, and then he said, "By the way, we haven't seen the first half of the film. There's no script for it. We haven't read it, but there's a part available, a pretty decent part. Have you auditioned for it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have a film agent." He said, "Well, look, I can give you an address to send it tape to Stanley Kubrick's office out there." And so he did. And me and my friend Steve, we rented a camera on Broadway. There used to be this big camera house. But, the cameras were huge back then. They were like, this big, and you had to carry them on your shoulder or on this big wooden tripod. And they also had a deck too, so it was pretty crazy. We had never used before. We taught ourselves how to use them. And I did a monologue from the play I was doing at the time, and I shipped it off. I got a call a couple of weeks later, and it was, this is Stanley Kubrick calling. And I thought it was my friends giving me a hard time because they knew that I had auditioned for this big part, whatever, or sent a tape in. And I hung up on them. It's the first thing I did. I didn't, and then I got a call back immediately, and this time it was Leon Vitale. And Leon said, "Don't hang up. This is Stanley Kubrick really calling you. He wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay." And I got on the phone, and Stanley said, "I watched your tape. I like what you're doing." He goes, "I want to send you some words, and I want you to put them on tape again." So I said, "Okay." He called me again when he got it and asked me, did I think I could gain a bunch of weight for the part? And I said, "I think so. I've never done that before, but I think I could." And De Niro had already done it for Raging Bull. I figured if De Niro could do it, I could do it. I was too naive to know anything different. So I ate a bunch of food, smoked a bunch of hash, and got the munchies and ate lots of food. And I think I put on probably about 7 to 10 pounds, something like that. And then I got the part. They asked me to come out. And then I had to put on the more weight. We thought it would be like 30 pounds in total, but he told me that I just looked like I could kick everybody's ass. So I eventually went up to 80 pounds. So I went from 210 to like 290, 280, 290.
Open your mouth! They're paying for it, you eat it!
And I kept that on for 13 months. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I got it. Yeah, if Matthew hadn't passed by, the Hard Rock that day, I probably wouldn't have be talking to you right now about it. So
Pay attention.
What was it like meeting Stanley for the first time then?
that was quite something.
Here we go. Roll video.
I was invited to set a couple of days after I arrived. And I walked across this field in Beckton, which is an old gasworks plant. I remember crossing the field and looking at all these buildings and thinking, wow, this is crazy, and seeing these giant palm trees. And he was sitting in his chair. They were shooting this great scene where they're all on one side of a wall and they have to go in to get the sniper.
Let's move out. Let's do it.
And they were still doing that when I arrived. So he got up and we shook hands, and he said, thanks for coming. He goes, I really liked your tape a lot. I said, thanks. So I can't believe I'm here. He goes, well, you're here and we have a lot of work to do. You imagine I was just 24 years old, and this was my first kind of real film. You know, I'd done NYU films. I'd done a Tromo film once, you know, to pay rent.
And I would like you all to get to work.
But this was a whole different deal. You know, I realized that this is not normal stuff. Like you're not going to run into this very many times in your career. Like Stanley is the real boss. Like he is the boss.
Don't get excited. Let's go!
9, 2, 3, 4, 10, 2, 3, and
All the camera equipment and stuff is his. The lighting packages are all his. He's the guy. Like this is the guy. There is nobody else. I remember walking through the field once in Beckton, and there was this band full of people in it. I remember, you know, asking Terry Needham, the first AD, why was that band of people? And to this day, I don't know if Terry was joking or not, but, you know, I kind of believe it's true. He said that that those are the Warner Brother executives. They're not allowed to get out of the vehicle or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't hard to tell that this was not just a director. This was Stanley Kubrick.
Am I right in saying then that the first scene that you would have filmed on camera is the haircut scene?
Yeah, it was just me and a bunch of Brits, and Matthew was there. So I did know somebody, and we were all gathered together, and there was about 20 of us, and we got our hair shaved.
And it feels like everybody has kind of got this kind of a look of melancholy, but you've got a grin on your face during that scene.
Nobody has ever asked me this question like that you just asked. So the good thing about shooting that haircut scene was it was my first attempt at my character. I had a plan already. I just, you know, it was debatable whether I was going to have the guts to actually pull it off on the day. And Stanley didn't say anything. He just let me do it. And I'm like, okay, I either did really bad or really good. Well, I'll find out, you know, eventually when we were done. But it was my first attempt at the character. So it's weird to look back at your life and know that at 24 years old, you were still prepping the way you still do today, you know, like the way I still do today. So it's a good notion to remember. It's a good memory.
As you were saying, you'd had quite a physical transformation to play this role.
It should take you no less than 10 fucking seconds to negotiate this obstacle.
How did that affect you when there are some really physical moments like the obstacle course? Did that come into play at all?
Mm-hmm. I was so used to being able to do, you know, anything, run and just do anything physical, you know. Not only did my mind think I could handle it, but I also had to do it while I was pretending to not be able to handle it.
Pyle, get up here. You're too slow. Move it, move it.
Which is dangerous.
Whatever you do, don't fall down. That would break my fucking heart.
And so I was like trying to carry this weight around and do all the same thing. So my body just couldn't do it.
Get up and over. Move it, move it, move it.
And I knew I could scale a wall, you know, for instance, you know. Not anymore.
Quit! You slimy fucking walrus-looking piece of shit! Get the fuck off of my obstacle! Get the fuck down off of my obstacle! Now! Move it! I'm gonna rip your balls off!
And so we were doing this one thing with these logs
Go!
where you had to hoist yourself off of a low log, jump to the next one, hoist yourself off of another one, jump to the next one. And I went down, but I figured, you know, I'm okay. So as I'm going down, I land on both of my legs and blew my knee out, like blew my right knee out bad. And that put me in the hospital, and I had to get surgery and everything.
I think in that moment, there's a jump cut.
Yeah. It's the only time we did it, so he had to figure it out, how to do it. Because I only did it once. And then I walked around with a cane for a long time and a brace, and all that footage shot of us being like really sharp and salty when we're doing the marching and stuff. I'm still wearing the brace under my knee and all that stuff. So yeah, it did affect my life a lot.
I think a favorite scene of mine in Full Metal Jacket is where you're with Joker.
Joker.
And he's buttoning up your shirt. And you say to him,
Everybody hates me now.
it feels such like an intimate moment between the two of you.
Even you.
It was an intimate moment. Yeah. It was well into the shoot when we shot that.
Nobody hates you, Leonard. You just keep making mistakes, getting everybody in trouble.
Might have been during a period where Matthew and I got on each other's nerves. There was a short period where these two bros, Matthew and I, weren't speaking for a while. I can't remember exactly why, but we mended it somehow eventually. The thing about Modine is that, you know, I always respected him as an actor, especially as a character actor. So I had a lot of confidence in him. And I knew that anything that I gave him, he was going to just be spot on with his choice.
Sir, Private Pyle reporting his orders, sir! Private Pyle, from now on, Private Joker is your new squad leader, and you will bunk with him. He'll teach you everything. He'll teach you how to pee. Sir, yes, sir!
During like a montage of his character helping my character out, we blocked all those scenes ourselves, and we rehearsed them all by ourselves first without Stanley, and then Stanley would come down and say, show me what you're going to do. And if the blocking was right, we would shoot it.
And then we can just do a single, and then we put it whenever we want. Should we try it? Let's give it a crack.
Ready?
And then we did the big one up really high up on the obstacle. We're really way high up on our own. There's no net below us. There's no nothing. We're just up like a Marine up on top of that fucking thing.
Attaboy. Set it down.
I was also still wearing the brace. It was really one of the first things we shot when I started to be able to not use the cane and walk.
Congratulations, Leonard. You did it.
But yeah, no, those scenes with Matthew and I, they were very intimate. We were both young. You know, we were like really at the top of our confidence at that time in the shoot. I think that if there was one character in the boot camp stuff that saw my character as a human being, not just a overweight guy, you know, and just somebody to bully, I think it was Joker, Matthew's character. I think he saw Leonard as a person first.
Order! Ha!
And that's why he got so frustrated and disappointed with him at times, because he was holding back the rest of the platoon.
Pick him up and set him down, Pyle! Quickly! Move it up!
My character was putting Joker through some kind of emotional arc when it comes to being with this guy, Leonard, you know, in the boot camp stuff. You know, he actually is one of the guys that beats him in the blanket party.
Can you talk me through the filming of that scene and how it came together?
I remember we sat for a long time while Stanley was figuring out the geography of it, how to shoot it, because for lack of a better term, he sort of hubbed the scene off of my bunk. and did shots of everybody leaving to my bunk, you know. I knew that it had to come across as like a nightmare scenario. So I prepped for a few days before it to figure out something from my life that was going to make me feel emotional like that. And I figured it out with the help of this is this time I spent in Jamaica, and it was around the first time I heard the Bob Marley album that had No Woman, No Cry on it. But this particular event happened that's quite emotional in my life. It was around the first time. So I went out to Virgin Records back in the day in London and bought that cassette tape and had it on my Walkman. And in between takes, I had that going. And Stanley asked me at one point what I was listening to, and I told him. And he didn't ask why, or anything like that. What you see is a combination of probably 2 takes. We only did that like 7 times, but all of them very emotional. And then so when he would say cut, I would put the headphones back on. I would just lay in my bunk. Everybody go back to the positions, and we do it again.
Do it. Do it.
I remember Matthew and Arliss doing, amazing stuff next to me when the camera was rolling, stuff that was really hurtful, and because I had put myself in this very vulnerable state, and I knew these guys so well at this point as actors,
Remember, it's just a bad dream, fat boy.
And then they get a close-up of me, and there's a shot of me sitting up and holding my gut, and, So it was quite emotional. It was quite an emotional scene for me. Yeah. I could go on, about that scene, because I learned a lot of things when I was doing that scene. It was the first time I'd ever really understood how Stanley blocks a scene for the camera. You could see that he knew what would work, what wouldn't work, how he was going to shoot. But then he'd have to put it all together. And that could sometimes take a couple of days for him to do. But his way of doing things, he would come in some days and we wouldn't shoot. He would invite us, maybe Matthew and I, to his trailer, and he would have his typewriter there and trying to work out a scene, trying to make a scene work.
No, but say, not too many words, but if you could find the right phrase.
Something good.
Like, I fucked you, I tried to help you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
He was very free and open when it came to that stuff. He was just like, show me what you think works, and he wouldn't word it that way, but it was basically like, just do it for me. Let's see, let's just do it. He would type it all out, and then we'd have to stick to it word by word, and same with Lee. Lee would always have new material to talk about because of him actually having done the job. And also he went back 2 times in Vietnam. He did 3 tours.
Did your parents have any children that lived?
Sir, yes, sir.
I bet they regret that. You're so ugly you could be a modern art masterpiece.
Lee was, he was not a well-trained actor. He was just a good actor. He would be able to play himself really well. And some gems would come out of him sometimes. And to watch him dig his own grave with getting more dialogue, it was tough for him sometimes.
Bullshit, I bet you could suck a golf ball through a garden hose.
Sir, no, sir.
But, proof is in the pudding. It's amazing.
Do any of you people know where these individuals learned how to shoot? Private Joker.
Sir, in the Marines, sir.
In the Marines, outstanding. Those individuals showed what one motivated Marine and his
We shot the
brother could
scene
do.
and we're out in the field and we're on these bleachers. I remember that day very clearly because I had figured out that the nursery rhyme 3 Blind Mice what had an effect on me from my childhood. And that when I would do a relaxation and I would start to say that out loud over and over again, it put me in this sort of enigmatic kind of depression. And then I could bring it in and just do it in my mind. And anything that I said or anything that I had to do, I could do during that. It was after that scene when we shot the next scene, which was when the sergeant is giving out what people are going to do. He says, "You want to be a writer?" You know, that scene. It's a Joker.
Sir, I wrote for my high school newspaper, sir.
Jesus H. Christ, you're not a writer, you're a killer.
A killer, yes, sir.
That was that scene where he said to me, do you remember what you did on the bleachers? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I know what you're going to think when I say this. I'm going to put the camera up here, and I want you to keep your face the same and do whatever you were doing on the bench, but I want you to look up at me without moving your chin. And I'm like, okay. Like, this is Clockwork Orange. This is Shining, and a little bit of 2001: Space Odyssey. And so I'm like, okay. And I looked at him, and he smiled at me, and I looked at him, and I smiled back, and we never mentioned it again. And it was just dawned on me, okay, I'm not just doing a movie, I'm doing a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Comer Pyle! Comer Pyle!
Sir, yes, sir.
You forget your fucking name? 0300 Infantry. You made it. Perkins.
Sir, yes, sir.
And so a lot of these scenes are just me sitting there with, in this thing that he told me to do, with this kind of three blind mice thing going on in my head. It's really what it is.
1, 2, 3, 21.
And it feels like such a unique performance. There's this guy who really shouldn't be there. You've got Hartman pulling you up at every opportunity he can.
4 inches from your chest, Pyle! 4 inches!
Did you feel any pressure of taking this much on?
Really interesting question. There was one thing in particular that I remember. So my mentor, and she still is, his name's Sharon Chatton. I studied with her for many, many years. And I was calling her frequently. And she would just confirm everything that I was doing. She would just say, great, whatever, this is great, just do it. Just the big deal is to just do it and be ready to fail. And she's the one that taught me all of that stuff early on in my career. That failure is good, don't be afraid of it. I remember before we shot the bathroom scene, it was near the end of my reign there, which would have been probably 12 and a half months or something into the shoot for me. And the next morning, we were going to shoot the bathroom scene. And I think it was Matthew and we were together, and we were walking out. We all used to have our cars in the parking lot, our drivers waiting for us. And Stanley used to clear his voice. He had I don't know if it was a tick but he always went before he spoke like that,
I would say that the lotus thing is useful for someone who hasn't the faintest idea of what the thing's supposed to do. It's very good giving you.
And so our backs are to him, and I hear him, and we both turn. And he said, do you know what you're going to do tomorrow? And I said, I think I do, yeah. He said, okay, it has to be big. It has to be Lon Chaney big. And that was like magic, because at my place on the dining room table were several cassettes of black and white horror movies, and a few of them were Chaney films. The blood just kind of ran out of me. And I was like I can nail this scene tomorrow, because it's exactly what the director wants. And it is what I had been looking at, because I didn't know how to pull that scene off. And, it was like magic to get that confirmation. It was incredible. And I did. I went in the next day. And as soon as I arrived to set, you know, I didn't have any like makeup or anything. So I just had to shave my head, make sure that it was shaved properly at the right length. My whole approach to the scene was just prep the fullest you can. Whatever doesn't work on the day, throw it out the window, but do your work and hope for the best.
Hi, Joker.
Have the confidence to go as far as you can go. And then it can work sometimes.
Are those live rounds? .762 millimeter. Full metal jacket.
The trick was to be able to take chances and do the right thing for this guy who's like a, you know, one of the best directors in the world. So the pressure was on.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts? Didn't Mommy and Daddy show you enough attention when you were a child?
Okay, turn over.
Knockout.
Okay.
We shot Lee out, we shot Matthew out. We did their coverage, and then we turned around on me. We did it in 3 takes, you know, and then we did a special effect where they blew the blood past me to splatter on the wall, because there was no, you know, CGI back then, obviously. But when we were done, I just kind of got up, and he said to me, first time he ever asked me, he goes, "Do you want to watch a couple of them?" And I'm like, "Sure." So he had his little video booth, and I sat down and we watched the first take. And then during the second take, his hand, Stanley's hand, which was right next to mine, went and landed on top of my hand. And like, I remember feeling like, fuck yeah, you know, like I did something right. This is the director telling me that I accomplished this scene that, you know, had to be one of the scenes he was most concerned about in the film, I would imagine. And he didn't say anything. He just looked at me, he smiled, he goes, "We're done." You know, I'm like, and I just got up as quick as I can and walked away thinking, God, I'm glad I didn't fuck that up. But that little gift that he gave me by putting his hand on my hand has stayed with me to this day.
After your death sequence, the film fades and then we go into Vietnam. But I know originally in the shooting script there was meant to be a bit of voiceover there from Matthew Modine, which acted kind of as an epilogue to your character. And ultimately it was cut from the final film, but we managed to get Matthew to do a new recording of the dialogue for you. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were on this.
For sure.
The civilians will demand yet another investigation, of course. But during the investigation, the recruits of Platoon 3092 will testify that Private Lawrence, while highly motivated, was a 10%er who did not pack the gear to be a Marine in our beloved Corps. If he could speak, Sergeant Hartman would say, "Dying, that's what we're here for. Blood makes the grass grow." If he could speak, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman would explain to Leonard why the guns we love don't love back. And he would say, "Well done."
Wow. It's really cool to hear. One of the things that it reminds me of is, you know, Stanley, the way Stanley writes, you know, is such an interesting thing that nobody really talks about very much. His way comes across in his dialogue in the same very straightforward, very practical way. Like, it is uniquely Stanley Kubrick. And every actor that's spoken his dialogue, if they look back, at all the movies sees what we all have in common. It's this kind of, no matter how much you try and avoid it and make it uniquely yours, there is this period where you just sort of give up to Stanley.
Vince, you know, it was better when you said, "You're not going to hurt me." I know you had several lines you did it wrong.
It's like Stockholm Syndrome. I'm your, you're my captor, and I'm going to do this dialogue the only way it can be done.
I know I said, say, "You're going to hurt me," but actually it sounds better when you say, "You're not going to hurt me."
And it comes across as this kind of haunting, uneasy, at times incredibly uncomfortably flat dialogue. It's astounding. It is incredible. And I've never had more fun, eventually learning how to do that on his sets. I never had more fun than that.
You went a little too fast, Vince, anyway.
Too fast?
Yeah. Just let there be a moment here. Give him time.
I'll never forget this. You remember that tour that was going on of all of his films and all the props and everything and everything he had written and all the letters, and it was amazing. And I remember being invited, and they had his chair in a glass case, stenciled Kubrick on it. And he was sitting in that chair a lot, trying to figure out how to get, the shots to work. So to see his chair again and to feel present with him again was too much for me to handle emotionally. I lost it. I took 5 steps into the museum and I'm just profusely crying like a baby. And that's because it reminded me of being there and him in his chair. And that, to me, it's going to be one of the biggest memories for all of my life. I think when it comes to Full Metal Jacket, the fact that I was there, I was invited in to do this part. I think that his treatment of me was spectacular. He knew exactly how to deal with this young actor who had the chops but had no experience. And instead of treating me like I was inferior, he raised the stakes even higher. He put the spotlight on me saying, do this.
This is my rifle! There are many like it, but this one is mine!
And it will always be this thing where I know that there's a very, very good chance that I wouldn't be successful if it wasn't for that film. So, these are the thoughts.
Vincent, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a real pleasure looking back at this movie with you.
You're awesome, dude. I appreciate it. Some great questions, man. Thank you.
Kiss me.